Greetings and salutations, friends. Welcome to my first attempt at a reasonably realistic-ish park build in Planet Coaster. With Planet Coaster 2 just around the corner, I thought it's time I exercised my imagination a little bit and tried to create a halfway decent park rather than these massive monstrosities that I've done in the past. So I decided, well, the first thing to do, obviously, is to get a car park going and fill it with vehicles. So, yeah, I'd already created the parking markings as a blueprint, so I just slapped those down and filled them with some trees and some shrubs just to give it some realism. And then we're just slapping down a bunch of cars here. We'll come back and we'll change the colors of those. This is not the most entertaining thing to do in Planet Coaster. This is a little repetitive, especially since really you've only got 3 cars to pick from. I did look at the DeLorean and the Knight Rider vehicle, but they're a little bit wider than these cars. I know that one there, but I don't think it's going to work out so well. So I decided just to square it off and put a planter there, and we'll come back and disguise that with some shrubbery. But let's go ahead, we'll go in here and we'll recolor some of these vehicles to give it some variety. And we've got that nice black car there because there's always some person who decides that they're going to park across the line. So going for some ultra realism in the car park here, I guess. I wanted to kind of give it the feel of people being there, but like not being overly crowded, which is why half the car park is empty. Then I've got these the shrubberies that I have made previously for another park, and they work really well. They've got the creosote bush in there to give them the feel of some twigs and whatnot going on inside there. So we're just going to backfill around the parking lot here a little bit, just to give it that feel of realism, and how the area is not really taken care of rather well, but it is trimmed down every now and again. I didn't really like the way the scenery was looking there with that cliff, so I decided to kind of try and backfill it a little bit. Smooth it out and then get some more shrubberies in there to cover it up, and then a little bit of messiness in there. That area, I reckon, would be taken care of a little bit better than some of these areas. And a little bit of groundwork there just to bring the ground level up to the fence. And then let's see if we can't come up with a nice edging along here just to make it look a little more tidy. Move that over there just so it butts up against the edge of the park. Of course, our guests are going to walk through the corner because they don't adhere to the park perfectly. But there we are, just kind of fill them in with some flowers again. Try to pick some reasonable flowers to go in there. And then I remembered I want to give a little splash of color to the area, so those red bushes are a nice touch, I think. Just lend a little bit going on there. There we go. So there's our car park. We've got that sorted out. So, all right. So now we load back in as sandbox. Now we've got the car park to a reasonable state, and now we're going to look at putting down the pathway. Now I want to do 3 separate paths, right? Because we've got this creek that's splitting the park almost in 2. So I come up with the idea of doing a kind of a fork right at the beginning before we get to the gates. And of course, I've got to remember which way around the bloody gates go. And then here's where the eternal struggle with the pathing tool begins. Several attempts to try and get these paths lined up here properly. I thought I had it there for a moment, and then I decided, well, let's see if we can't get the turnstiles closer to the fork. Of course, no was the answer there. So we had to start over, and then we kind of carried on and just rinse and repeat using the grid pattern to get the path going. This side gave me way more fits than the other two. It took a lot longer to get this side sorted out because as soon as I moved the gates, it all broke and went to hell. And then, here we go again. Here's that struggle with the path. Once I've got this down, I'm not touching it. I'll tell you that. So yeah, we use the grid pattern to get the path connected to both gates, and then trying to freeform the. What is that? 20? I think it's a 26 inch. 26 inch. Is it 26 feet wide? Or is it meters? I can never remember if it's in feet or meters. Alright, so now we've got the path done to the point where it's usable. I was trying to figure out, well, I want to do 3 different path types because I always end up using the same one, that asphalt path. So I decided that I was going to try and use a different path type this time. And I want to build a custom bridge across the lake. So I'm going to move all the trees out of the way. Try and get the path down so it's like reasonably good, trying to get it connected up, and then of course back down to the nightmare of trying to connect the gridded path to to the ungridded path. And actually that one snapped rather well. So on this side we are going to go with I can't remember what we ended up going with actually. Oh, the flagstones, yes. So we're going to kind of terraform the ground a little bit to lay the path upon so it's nice and smooth. This side didn't give me too much of a hassle actually, trying to get it all hooked up, but we're going to move the trees out of the way. I'm going to try not to delete too much of the existing park here. So now, right, let's chuck down a quick roller coaster here. I have one pre-made. I just can never remember where it is. There we go. All right. So we're going to throw this guy down here, and this basically is going to be our entrance coaster. Yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. It needed a lot of smoothing out. It was a very early coaster that I built many years ago. Can you believe Planet Coaster is this old? So it needed some tweaking and smoothing, and then I realized that this coaster was going to be blocking my employee entrance. So I got it all smoothed out. I'll slow this bit down. So I got it all smoothed out, and then I realized if I'm going for realism, I need the maintenance track on the side there. Yeah, okay. So we'll come back to that in a minute. There we are. We'll get the what I usually do is there we go. This is me realizing. Wait a minute. I need the maintenance track on here. All right, and then we'll just put this back together again. But it does, it does make an interesting corner because the corner that was already there was actually pretty brutal. So yeah, we brought this in and we put it back down again. We got it all smoothed out. Then I realized that bank into the station was just neck breaking, so I smoothed that out as well. And now let's go ahead and we'll start thinking about the station. So we'll put the entrance and exits down where we're going to end up having entrance and exits is, but where the grid system is going to cooperate. So we're going to get the paths hooked up here. I can never really decide how I want to do the entrances. I don't like them being stuck straight onto the path because guests walk up to the entrance and then they decide, do I want to ride this or not? Do I have enough money or not? And they stand there just for a moment. And when you get enough people just standing there, it starts to clog the path. So I always like to do that little setback for the ticket booth. And then, of course, back to the eternal struggle of the pathing system. And now what were we going to do now? Oh yeah, I was pre-planning the other paths as well. So we're going to lay this one out also. And we're going to go with, I believe I went with the herringbone pattern on this one, which was nice. And then for some bizarre reason, this one just did not give me the same fits that the other ones did. It just cooperated straight away, which kind of surprised me a little bit. And then I realized that the park was not actually open. So of course we go in and we click on the open. And then I can't remember which way the turnstiles are supposed to face, but whatever. So let's go in. We'll create our pathway for our maintenance and a little bit of wear and tear painting under the track there, where they wouldn't really waste a lot of time mowing and edging around the path supports. They would just hit it probably with a grass and weed killer just to keep it down and keep moisture off the metalwork. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to think about building the platform here. And this gave me all kinds of issues, trying to figure out how I wanted to do this and what method I was going to use, and if I was going to do a theme that follows around the entire park, or if I was going to theme each station on its own, or no. And then I decided, since the building in the car park was the diner stuff, I would try and see if I could actually use that theme around the rest of the park as well. So I decided I'm going to use the diner supports, but I also need obviously gridded materials here to create the actual building itself. So with the supports in, it's time to put in the rails for safety, because we don't want people leaping off of the platform, even though there are actually rails on the platform already. They're not particularly substantial. And then I want to do this all the way around, but then I've got the problem of the entrance and exit here. There's that big gap between the fence and the edge of the station. I was like, you know what? There's nothing really suitable that's going to work. So let's adjust this here. And then I was thinking about moving the supports to the edge of the platform, but then there would be that overhang, which definitely causes a problem when you're putting the roof down. Because I don't like things overlaying each other. You get that weird tearing of the texture. So here's where we start experimenting with the roof a little bit. And we're going to go with the diner roof for this. And I think it actually kind of works a little bit for the cheap and nasty entranceway. It does kind of work. It needs a little more love, I think, right here. But we've got the basic idea of the station down, right? I don't know why that moved on its own. That was weird. And then I decided there were too many supports and they were kind of clogging up the entrance-exit barriers. So I got rid of those ones and then adjusted that a little bit there so it hit the corner properly, and there was no issues with things clipping through each other. And then we want to cover up the bottom of the station, obviously, because we don't want the nasty support showing. So we get that done, and then and now it's time to come up with a name and some theming, which I always have a problem with naming, right? I go through a couple of ideas here, and then suddenly I'm thinking, okay, what about a disaster kind of feel, right? Maybe we're using, I think, what was I doing here? It wasn't Colossus, it was, Cyclone. So maybe the Cyclone has come by and destroyed this building. So I come up with that idea, and I start using that to theme out the main entrance and the signage. But signage, actually, for me is a real problem. I'm not talented enough to sit for an hour using the shapes to create a sign. Maybe one day, maybe actually in Planet Coaster 2 I will, but for now I would rather just use a sign and type it in. So initially we go with Cyclone here, but I end up changing it once I end the stream, because I realize that Cyclone actually is obviously the name of a Woody, and a very popular Woody. And I can't, obviously use that again in the park. So anyway, so that's it. We got most of it started. That's my first 2-hour stream done, condensed down to 15 minutes. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as obviously I progress, the whole realism thing should get better and more obvious. But thanks for watching. It's much appreciated, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and or evening.